evening. This is Rethink Madness Moments, the evening edition. And I am your host, assignment coach, Tanisha W. Carroll. I coach moms of tween daughters how to navigate their relationship with humility and grace to resolve conflict, to because of communication disparities, lack of understanding of their individual collective assignment, to rethink madness using music therapy, biblical principles, and clarity to get you on assignment. And I am here and I want to welcome you to this conversation. Now, these beautiful women that you see are my dear family members, and they are mother and daughter. And so, this is my aunt, Pastor Regina Robinson, and her daughter, Ondrea Robinson, who is also is it a licensed clinical therapist?
I wish. I'm only a street therapist.
That's not true.
No, I work in social service. I'm social.
Oh. See, I told y'all. So this crew. So we're here tonight to talk about mothers and daughters, and we're talking about the relationship. So Mommy and Me on Assignment is a group that I started to help us as mothers to navigate our relationship, women with their mothers and daughters, women with other women, and how we are able to change the narrative, because currently the narrative is madness, which it says that women cannot get along, that women can't be friends with each other, that mothers and daughters can't get along, because it's natural for the world to say, well, women can't get along. Well, that includes mothers and daughters. And we're here in Mommy and Me on Assignment to shift that narrative, because we believe that women are designed to get along and to get along with one another and to love one another, to support one another. And we are an example of that. Of course, we know that there's always ups and downs in relationships. However, how we approach it, how we approach the relationship is how we're going to get what we desire and what God desires out of the relationship. And so I'm going to give you ladies just a moment to introduce yourself a little more in depthly. Just tell us briefly who you are, a little bit more about who you are, where you are in the world, and give us one thing that you think when I talk about the narrative in the world about mothers and daughters. Let's start with you, Regina.
Okay. I am in Pittsburgh. I'm Pastor Regina Robinson, Tanisha's aunt. And I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I have 5 children. I have a son and 4 daughters. And I have several grandchildren. But you asked me about mother and daughter relationship, and I have to go back to my mother and my relationship with her, and which kind of formed my relationship with going forward to my daughters, since I have 4 daughters, but each one of them are different. I'm amazed that my mother dealt with all of us and granddaughters and whatnot, and her sisters and whatnot. She raised several, but I was, what was the question?
Just give us what is your view about the idea that women cannot get along, thereby assuming that mothers and daughters cannot get along?
I think that's it comes from our society too, that where women think other women are better sometimes, or it's a generational thing where if somebody's prettier than you, you might think that somebody's trying to take what you have, or they put you to the side. It depends on what you look like, where you fit in the family, where you fit into the world. I think we do it sometimes to ourselves. I have a lot of good female friends, but I think it's where you have to like yourself, and that's where it comes from, and where God loves you. And what I found out growing up, my mother always said I was who I was, and I could be anything. And how my self-esteem was right, and I think that has a lot to do with it, with your self-esteem, and how you love yourself, how you view yourself, and how you view others. And the Bible did say, treat your neighbor as yourself. And if you love yourself, you're going to treat somebody else the same way, and you get that back. They say, how can you respect somebody? Get respect, but if you don't give it, you can't get it. And if you don't care about somebody and show them that you genuinely care about them. And I think that by me and her talking, and she showed me how much she loved me and how much she had friends. And they shared, and she showed me that within the church and without the church, but they didn't have any conflict with one another, because they were, how you can say, they were confident in who they were. They didn't feel like someone was trying to take something from them. And I think that as time went on, I'm not sure where it went, but I think it just didn't begin. But I think somewhere around society deemed it, saying that we weren't able to get along. And so we took it and ran with it. We took it and ran with it. And so I have a good relationship with my daughters. I think I do. And my granddaughters, I think I do. Now, they may think I'm a little off the chain every now and then, but then I have to rein myself in. I have to rein myself in to remember how it was as I was coming up. Sometimes we forget that we were, and I have this problem when people say, I don't want to have daughters. I'd rather have sons. Daughters are opinionated. They have a lot to say. They have a lot to say. I'm just saying that they do. But we all have a lot to say, and we have to respect that. And men are more quiet, whereas women talk. And they want answers. They want feelings. What are you thinking? What are you doing? And as we went on, as we grew, I mean, as my children grew, we wanted to know what they were thinking. And so they told us. We couldn't accept what they were saying sometimes. So it's understanding. And even as I was growing up, I had thoughts, and my mother didn't understand my thoughts. But she accepted me for who I was, and I was able to grow from that. And so I actually tried to do the same for my daughters, to accept them and watch them grow, and know that they would take time. But if I walked with them, and then I had to learn too how to be a mother to a daughter, son, and to understand their differences. All I can say. And pray. Pray for God to give me grace and mercy. When they said something that I really didn't like, or I thought that they were going the wrong way, or they thought they was with the wrong person. And the more you say something to somebody about going the wrong way, they want to go that way anyway. So then you have to change the narrative and say, okay, let me pray about it. But I do thank God that I have a good relationship with my daughters. Sometimes we don't agree with everything now. I'm not saying we walk that, there's a line that we don't agree with each other, but we agree to disagree. And it's okay, because we hear each other out. And there are times when we do think about what each other says later on, and we come back and say, oh, that was a good idea. I was just in myself and my feelings, and I didn't want to hear from you. And I didn't think you knew anything age-wise, but we have to respect everybody has a voice. And you do have to listen to everybody, and it can make a change for you.
Mhm, mhm. So good, so good. You said so many things, and I want to come back to some of them. And I want to give Ondrea an opportunity to introduce herself and give her thoughts on this idea of mothers and daughters, or women in general, and their ability to get along.
Thank you, Coach Tanisha. Ty is very familiar because she is my cousin. My name is Ondrea Robinson. I am Pastor Regina's daughter. I'm also a mother of a 29-year-old daughter. I am currently the CEO of a community-based mental health agency here in Indianapolis. So I learned how to be a mother from my mother and my grandmother, the love and the kindness. And then that formed my relationships with other women, because watching them, I think it's generational. If we're biblically speaking, there's some generational curses of brokenness that cause, if I'm broken and I experience trauma as a young girl, then I become a mother. I pass that on, not knowing. And nobody, when they're pregnant with their child, whether it's a daughter or a son, they don't anticipate, oh, I'm going to really mess this up. I'm not going to be able to connect. But if my mother didn't connect to me, then I may have trouble connecting to my child. So then it causes that little girl to say, I don't do women. I only have male friends, because again, the first woman who was going to show you how to connect and be your friend, be that covering, that leader, that listening ear, wasn't, because her own brokenness, her own trauma, was unavailable emotionally. So I think that is the point. Women are strong. We are powerful together. So why wouldn't the enemy cause discord around women? When you were talking, I kept thinking of that movie, The Woman King. And it was based on a true story of women warriors in Africa. And I'm like, we're strong. We can do this. But when there's the spirit of comparison, the spirit of entitlement, the spirit of insecurity, or, all these things, I always say, we judge how we feel in our insides. We judge somebody else's outsides how we feel in our inside. And so when we do that, if we see a woman, I'm not flawless. I envy women who are flawless, who I perceive to be flawless from the outward. And I admire women who are dainty. There is not a dainty bone in my body. I don't get it from my mama. I didn't get it from my grandmother, my aunties. There's no daintiness. I'm not like, I'm not that. But I had to learn to embrace that. Like, it's okay not to be who God created you to be in those things, but ask God to show me how to be soft, how to be feminine, how to be comfortable in my skin that He gave me. So I love being a mom. I love having a daughter. And like my mom said, our daughters are two, our mirrors. And so what we see that they're doing is a reflection of what we've shown them. And we say, don't do as I say, not as I do, but they're going to do as you do, because they're mimicking your behaviors. And so my mini version of me is 29, but her own person, she's 2.0. She's much further, much advanced, more advanced. And I look at her, I go, she's going to be okay. She's just got to go through this. And, but the support is important, to listen. When my daughter was little, and we still do this to this day, the car was a place where she could talk to me. No matter what, there was no judgment zone. And I feel like when we take long car rides, even when we get in the car today, we just have awesome, amazing conversations. But now I'm learning to love her as a young woman who she's becoming and asking her, what do you need from me in this season? Not what I want. Of course, I still want to protect her. As my mom said, if I see a guy there, I'm like, and you can't do that because when my mother did it, she's like, Mom, you don't want me to have anybody, but I'm super blessed just to have amazing women around me. And so that helped me cultivate. And so when my position and my role, I try to instill in the young women that work for me, the young women who are our clients, or any women I come in, to instill what it's like to have positive female relationships.
So good. You guys are doing a great job, and I appreciate everything that you're sharing. I think one thing about us is, and we are, for those of you guys who are just joining us, this is Mommy and Me on Assignment, Rethink Madness. And today I'm hosting my family, a mother and daughter duo, my aunt Regina and her daughter, her oldest daughter. She has 4, her oldest daughter, Ondrea. And so our baby is on Miss Tamia. So hey Tamia, which is my niece. And
was she on here?
Yep, she's
Hi,
she's on Facebook. She's on Facebook.
Okay. Hi Tamia.
So you'll be able to go back and see her comments and stuff.
Okay.
So I think this is a great conversation for someone like her, because she is one of those young ladies who maybe is like, female relationships, I got my mama, I'm good. Or, I got this one female friend, I'm good with the rest. And there are others who are in this world who are similar. We had the benefit of growing up around some really great women and having access to one another and other, as you said, Ondrea, your mom was a great example, and had female relationships. My mom had amazing female relationships, and she was very much outgoing person. So she was good at that, connecting with people. But by watching her, I was able to see, how to be in relationship with women. And I've always had really wonderful female relationships over the years. And so when people would say to me, oh, I don't do women, it was very shocking to me. It was very shocking to me because I didn't understand it. I did not grow up in that. My mom had a plethora of women that she would call like her sisters. She grew up with 3 sisters. And then, so women, being around women was not a big deal for her. And she was a powerful woman in her own right. So then to come into a world, as I grew up and became a woman myself, to come into a world where people are like, oh, I don't do girls, I don't do women. It's like, well, why? What is this curse? Because that's really what it is, trying to overtake us as women, because, and I don't think that we realize the physical manifestation that we end up having because we have this burden of, I don't want to deal with women are mean, or women are just want your whatever you have. Why isn't it that we can share this? So my question to you ladies is, I'll start with you, Ondrea, is, what is it that we have as women that that we should be able to kind of share with one another, but we seem to be wanting to hold it all for ourselves?
Just that emotional support. Men are great. I love them. Brothers, nephews, cousins, dad, grandfather, uncles, but they're emotionally, they can always support you. Men are very factual, concrete. Women can give you that listening ear, that, shoulder to cry on. I think too, we're afraid to be vulnerable. We think vulnerability as women is a weakness. It's a gift. It's a strength. Vulnerability, when you are able to leave yourself vulnerable, it's not for that other person, it's for you to not be able to hold things. And then you also have to have discernment. There's different friend levels, right? There's the intimate circle. Then there's that circle where you may occasionally see. Then there's the acquaintances, the coworkers, and we want to bring everybody into our inner circle. And that's a lesson that I've learned throughout the years. And as you were talking, relationships have seasons. In different seasons of your life, there will be people who will come into your life. And sometimes we have a hard time, whether we've been abandoned or rejection or whatever it is, to realize that, okay, we could still part ways or go our own way, and we don't have to be ugly about it. But sometimes we stay in those seasons too long because it's like, I've known her since kindergarten. We were best friends. Our family were friends. But in the season that you're in, you're both in different seasons. And so you still try to kind of make it fit, instead of just saying, I'll send her a letter whenever I'm thinking about her, email, I'll call her when I'm thinking. But it doesn't in this season, God is sending me another group of women to cultivate where I am in this season. And then the next season, some will be lifetime. They'll go from season to season with you. And I think, and that's like in anything, but as female, I always question myself. My mom can share that with you. When a friend stops talking to me or a friendship ends, I'm really devastated because I go inward, like, what happened? What did I do? Is this a pattern behavior that I'm having? And then I realized that our season was up. Like we met for a purpose, a reason, or a season, or a lifetime. And sometimes it's just a purpose. You come together on a committee, you connect with people, you have a great time, but that was a purpose. You fulfilled your purpose together. And then you just, whenever you send them Christmas cards or think about them, and then, so I think that's the one thing that we have trouble with. And then from a trauma standpoint, if you were sexually assaulted or abused as a child, sometimes we look at our mother to say, you didn't protect me. Mm-hmm. So then we're guarded and we go, even though the male might have been the perpetrator, it's still safe. Like I'm aware I can control that, but I'm upset and angry. So sometimes we got to get to the root cause, and we don't talk about that a lot. We don't talk about therapy. Therapy is our friend. Jesus is our keeper. He's our provider, and he provides therapists. And so, but when broken people try to meet and get together, it's just a bunch of brokenness, right? And so and so you have to be on that path of healing, and so that you can be whole and be able to know what loving, healthy relationships look like. And sometimes it takes a while, I hope I answered the question and didn't go off on a rant.
No, I think what you said was really good. And, being gentle, having to understand yourself as a woman, and really identifying the things that may have harmed us and kept us from being open to having positive female relationships. Really, really good. So, Regina, what do you think when it comes to...
Okay, something's going on. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
You kind of faded a little bit, Ty. So
yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't know if she.
Oh,
Okay, now I can hear you good.
okay, okay. Sorry about that. I think somebody was trying to text me. um, so what are your thoughts on just the idea and the ability of women to kind of see beyond the difficulty? You know, you said how you had a mom who was a great example of female relationships. Going forward, how do you think women, or what do you think is a strategy for women to be able to move beyond, maybe hurt or pain or any sort of trauma in order to build healthy female relationships?
Well, I think that I think the Bible had said that we as older women are supposed to go back and walk with younger women, and I don't believe we've done that. I don't see that because sometimes we forget where we were, and we come to this place of we're so self-righteous and this, that, and the other, that we forgot that as we were coming up, and I've talked to other women, older women about that, you forgot what it was like to be young. You forgot how it was like to be a teenager. You forgot what you went through, that somebody had to take the time to talk to you and to be patient with you. And that's what sometimes I think we forget. And I've had to say that to our women's group at times. I said, you forgot, y'all, you forgot what it was like. You have to remember, you talk about these young ladies trying to figure out who they are and where they belong, but you did have somebody to walk with you. Sometimes they don't have anybody to walk with them. Sometimes they
Mm-hmm.
don't have a role model to educate them, to love them, to even if you fall down and just helping them get back up again and say it's gonna be okay. You'll be okay. I'll be there for you. And if they fall down again, you better help them up again.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that we have to remind ourselves, and that's what God told the Israelites, tell the people what I did for you, what you went through and how you got through. And that's what we have to go back. And as Ondrea was talking about trauma, they might have had some trauma. Then maybe they need some therapy to be able to help somebody else along the way. But like she said, I'm in therapy, but I'm glad I am because it's helped me to recognize where I am to help somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
not to judge anybody, to care about somebody. And it takes time. I've heard some, and this is just something when we talk about women being abused, some women can't understand why someone would go through that. And they throw them out. Oh, I don't understand why they would do that. They're just not strong. They're not this and that because they've never been through that. But they didn't take the time to say, why, what's going on? Maybe I can help you. And that's why women get closed off because no, they can't talk to nobody. That's
Yeah.
why they get isolated. And that's why they go through what they want because they don't have anybody that they can run to. Yes, maybe they've been through this and they run back and forth. So what? Be there for them. Because there's a time when they're going to stop and say, I don't want to do this no more. But who can I turn to help me? Who will listen to me? Who will be there for me? And that's what we have to do. We have to stop being so judgmental about everything and show compassion and love upon somebody else, even though we haven't gone through it.
That's so good. I totally agree with what you're saying. And Ondrea, you said this, and you too, Auntie, about being vulnerable and being willing to tell and to say what you need, but also being willing to tell your story.
Mm-hmm.
Being willing to tell your story. What I have found as women, things that I have gone through these past couple of years, I'm shocked at other people who have gone through it as well. And I had no idea. And I'm like, people aren't talking as believers. You know, the word of God says that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. But we are closed off because we live in a place of shame for too long. And as women, we're embarrassed because we have this, oh, I gotta be strong. Especially, I feel, as Black women. You know, Black women have this, you know, there's that strong Black woman personality, and that is such a lie. There's a comedian. Her name is Yvonne Orji, and she currently has a there's a, like, what's it, a reel that's going around of her comedy show, and she's like, I don't want to be strong, somebody else be strong. Black women are the only culture where it's some sort of badge of honor to be strong, but you die. You it's a badge of honor to be strong, but you're sinking. Like, you need someone, you need some help, but you're not willing to say it. And I thought that was really, of course, she made it funny. It's not funny when I'm saying it, but she had a whole joke about it.
True. That's true, though. We don't want to say and be vulnerable because we don't want to be judged as being weak. And why did you stay in something situation that long? Why did you do this and why didn't you do that? We don't want to, like you said, be shamed of our trauma. As Ondrea talked about our trauma, and then, like you said, if we talk about it more, then somebody will say, I understand. And I think that's when I spoke about it in the church, about the trauma I had when I had Ondrea, when there was a time when people talked about you being pregnant at that time in the 60s in the church. And made me feel bad. And I thank God that I had a mother that stood up for me, that loved me in spite of making me feel less than, because I was an unwed mother. Nowadays, they don't care. But then, what'd you say? But then in the 60s, it was a different thing. You were looked upon differently. And speaking about it in the church made people realize that they felt that way too. And it was talked about, and it having the release for them also to say, oh, you went through that? I went through that. And we need to, as you said, we need to talk about things.
Yeah. And also, I want to take it back. Historically speaking, as Black women, from when we were brought over as slaves, Black women were the ones who fed all the babies, the white babies on the plantation, the slave master's babies, her babies, maybe another woman's babies who couldn't produce. But not only that, you gave birth in the fields and then got up and kept on working. Now listen, I'm not built like that. But
what you say?
But then we had to be that covering for the Black man, to be his strength. Yeah. Then we had the white man taking advantage of our bodies and our minds, and a white woman damaging our mental and emotional, and make us feel less than or ugly or whatever we felt. And so from that generation to generation, that narrative followed us, where now we're saying, listen, I'm not a strong Black woman.
Yeah.
I'm weak. I need the Lord because I'm weak. I'm tired of carrying everything on my shoulders. I'm tired of not being seen or heard or valued. I'm tired of running faster and harder than anybody else just to get recognized. When we as Black women are the most educated in this country, there are more entrepreneurs who are women of color in this country. So we gotta, but all they show us is twerking, how to meet a rich man, Instagram. Even now, like I'm older. I'm 51. I'm older now, but it is those narratives. But there are so many wonderful, amazing things happening for us as women. We get to wear our hair like this to work now, right? We're not, we get to, as they say, our magic, our amazingness. We're saying we're amazing now. We're saying and the Bible say we're beautifully and wonderfully made. And now we're saying that. We're doing affirmations, calling each other queen. Everybody's not a queen. Somebody got to be a princess. But, that's neither here nor there.
I'm queen. I'm queen.
But,
come on, queen.
I'm doing it. I'm queen.
There could have been a whole continent of queens. Okay. Right. Somebody had to be a princess and a servant and a worker. I'm just saying. But I recognize we say that because they say we're royalty. We have a royal priesthood. Do you understand your bloodline? Do you understand what we come from? What we may not, they say Black African Americans don't have any culture. We had to cultivate that. We had to create culture here.
Yeah.
We don't, no, we don't know where we all came from, or we don't have a lineage, but we created something. And I'm glad that we're in a space now where we're talking about healing, being healthy, being creative. We're supporting one another. Say, I'm going to come out here and I'm going to support you. I'm going to encourage you. But also remember, you say what you need to say to some people, and some people you just got to keep moving. You can't bring the whole tribe with you, whether it's women, men, but be respectful and pray for them in a healthy way. Yeah.
So good. So good. Well, this has been a really good conversation, and it looks like a couple of people have shared this, and it was important for me to just try and pull us in and just have a brief conversation about women. And because we have a lot of women in our family of varying ages, from the littlest to the oldest, and from toddlers up to senior citizens. And we got everybody in between. And I think it was good what you guys are saying about, we have to talk with each other, but we also have to hear one another. Sometimes we're doing so much talking that we don't hear. And I know that I'm guilty of that, where I'm busy saying my piece or thinking about saying my piece and I'm not able to hear. And that is so important as we walk in this space of mending the relationship between mothers and daughters. Often as a mother, we are like, just do what I tell you to do. Currently, we're in an age with our young ladies where we really have to go out of our way to hear them, because they are struggling. They're struggling with how to make choices, how to make decisions, if this decision is acceptable, and am I going to be all right if I make this decision? Am I going to disappoint myself? Am I going to disappoint my family, whomever? Am I letting people down? That kind of thing. But what we really need to help our daughters know is that who they are is enough. Who they are is enough, right where they are, flaws and all. Who they are is enough, because that's what the Father did for us.
Amen.
He said, where you are, Auntie, you talked about having a child out of wedlock. Where you were, your mom spoke to you and told you by the word of God, you're enough. It's okay. It happens. And that brought healing into your heart. And so our ability to speak into this generation, speaking to our daughters, whether they be our biological daughters, adoptive daughters, spiritual daughters, nieces. You know, we have to speak into our daughters to tell them that they're enough.
Yes.
That they're enough. And I think that's a foundation. You guys have said this in so many different ways about us being vulnerable, about not judging one another, about treating each other the way we want to be treated, treating one another with love. But we got to start with who we are and knowing that we're enough and that we can love ourselves, and then give that away freely. Give that away freely. You guys have done a wonderful job tonight and shared so many things. And I hope that you'll come back and talk again to me.
Oh, we can come back.
You can come back.
Thank you,
Yes.
Tanisha, for thinking of us and allowing us
you.
the space to share, and blessings to you. I'm always so proud of you. You inspire me to do great things. So keep it up. Please.
Yes, yes. I'm so proud of both of y'all. You know, that's what keeps me going, to knowing that what was poured into you, you're pouring into others. So if we just do it one at a time, we'll do it. Because that one will do it to someone else. And that show that love. So it's going to happen. It's going to work, and we're going to make a difference. It's a blessing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We're talking about the relationship between mothers and daughters, and how we can shift the narrative in this world. And to make women be able to get along and to build one another up. And so I want to thank you, ladies, Pastor Regina and Ondrea Robinson, for being here tonight. And I am your host, Coach Tanisha Carroll, and this is Mommy and Me on Assignment. And we will see you. You can join us on Monday nights on Clubhouse in the Mommy and Me on Assignment room, located in Confident Woman Incubator Clubhouse. Also in the Facebook group, Mommy and Me on Assignment, you are welcome to join. If you are mothers of tween daughters, you definitely want to connect with me, because we're doing something really fabulous in the world right now. And so thank you so much for being here.
Amen.
And I look forward to talking to you guys again soon. So have a great night, everyone. Bye.
God bless.